Hi all, welcome back to my channel and our kayaking adventures. You're probably wondering why I'm letting the air out of my tires. Well, we're going to need optimal traction to get to our next adventure. So stick around, let's hope I don't get stuck as we make our way to the Corova Beach Park and Boat Ramp, located on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Carova is the northernmost Outer Banks community. It is only accessible by the unpaved beach. The community's name derived from the combination of Carolina and Virginia, since the coastal community lies just south of the North Carolina-Virginia state line. Corova is renowned for its miles of privacy, including clean white beaches, a scattering of rental homes, and wild Mustangs that roam freely from the ocean to Corova's small residential neighborhoods. The 11-mile stretch of shoreline is virtually deserted, except for passing four-wheel drive vehicles and families enjoying the beach. While the idea of seeing wild horses from North Carolina's intercoastal waters sounded intriguing, the idea of taking my Xterra for a drive along the sandy beach was the reason I wanted to go. Once we arrived to the Corova Beach Park and Boat Ramp, we unloaded our gear and put our kayaks in the water. During this time, we saw several trucks filled with people on guided tours, searching for the same horses that we had hoped to see from the water. We paddled the canal toward Knott's Island Bay. We kept a lookout for any wild horses that might be wandering the neighborhood. We put in the water about 10 a.m. The temperature was 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It was a very cloudy day. This was due to Hurricane Delta, which had made landfall in Louisiana the day prior. The majority of the homes along the canal are vacation rentals, which are rented on a weekly basis. Reservations for these houses should be made a few months to a year in advance. The wild horses we are in search of are commonly called banker horses. They are presumed to have descended from Spanish horses. It is possible that the ancestors of these horses arrived to the Outer Banks in the 16th century after surviving shipwrecks, or were abandoned on the island by one of the early exploratory expeditions. The horses used to roam free for much of the Outer Banks, but as more people moved in, the herds dwindled in size and were eventually confined to a small portion of the area in Corova to roam freely. There are approximately 100 wild horses in the area. It wasn't long before we saw our first horse and paddled closer for a better view. It was exciting to see our first wild horse, especially considering the miles we traveled to get here. I will admit though, seeing it grazing in a neighborhood didn't exactly make it feel like I was seeing a wild horse. I do think the vacation homes in the area take away from the awe of this place. We decided to paddle north, away from the homes, in hopes to see them in a more natural surrounding. After paddling north and getting pretty close to the North Carolina-Virginia state line, we headed back toward the vacation homes, since that's where the horses were. It wasn't long until we found more of the horses. The Spanish Wild Mustang's legs are short, their bodies stocky, and their fur fluffier than domesticated horses. By law, visitors of Corova are to remain at least 50 feet from these beautiful creatures. Their diet consists of grass, sea oats, live oak tree leaves, and permissions. It is illegal to feed these wild horses, as fruit and vegetables can cause serious injury or even death to these horses. From a conservation point of view, the wild horses are considered a non-native invasive species, and thus in the early part of the 20th century, they had the wild horses reclassified as free-roaming livestock. This gave anyone the legal right to catch and keep the wild horses for their own, leading to the decimation of the herd from thousands to a few hundred. Since then, the horses have been reclassified and protected. The wild horses are managed by the Corova Wild Horse Fund. This privately owned nonprofit looks after the well-being of the horses. After a few hours kayaking, we loaded up and got back on the beach. We wondered, what did the state line border look like? Well, we had to drive and find out. The fence on the border serves two purposes. One, to keep motorized vehicles off of Virginia shoreline, and two, to keep the wild horses confined to Corova for their safety. After a fun day kayaking, it was time to find a place to eat. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, click that like button for me. Join Team Kayak 7 Seas by subscribing to this channel. Check out our social media accounts at Facebook and Instagram. We hope to see you out on the water someday.